Hello, Mr. Trump. My name is Frank de Varona. I'd like to introduce myself to you. When I was 17 years old, I invaded Cuba at the Bay of Pigs in 1961. I was captured and sentenced to 30 years of hard labor, and I served 2 years in the horrible prisons of Cuba. When I returned to the United States, I became a teacher. I worked in the Lake County Public Schools, 36 years, from social studies teachers to deputy superintendent of schools. Then I became a professor at the University, local State University in Miami, Florida International University for 7.5 years. I am now a journalist and a writer. I have written 22 books and 5 books against Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. I'm the only person in the United States that have done 5 books against the current criminal administration of Barack Obama. We were very pleased when you came to visit our library museum of the Bay of Pigs, Brigade 2506, in Little Havana in Miami in 1999 when you were considering running for president. And you told us at the time that Fidel Castro was a criminal and therefore he should not be rewarded by lifting the US commercial embargo against Cuba and by recognizing Cuba diplomatically. And that is precisely what Barack Obama has done with the consent of Hillary Clinton. And Barack Obama has done a series of unilateral concessions to Cuba, even though Cuba remains a danger to the national security of the United States. It is a terror state nation. There is a Hamas office in Havana. Cuba is helping Venezuela, which is a narco-terrorist nation, with an occupation army of 40,000 soldiers, which is led by the best Cuban generals. And Venezuela is helping Hezbollah, the militias of Hezbollah in Lebanon, and Iran is helping China and Russia, and so is Cuba. Cuba has signed naval and military agreements with China and with Russia, and that is why precisely Barack Obama is emptying Guantanamo naval base, because another demand of that government, of that regime, is that the Guantanamo naval base should be returned to Cuba. But what Barack Obama has done, he has committed treason to the people of Cuba who want freedom and liberty. He has ignored and unconstitutionally violated the Helms-Burton Law, which was passed by Congress and signed by President Bill Clinton after 2 Cuban MiGs in international waters shot down 2 small planes of Hermanos al Rescate, Brothers to the Rescue, whose big crime was helping the Coast Guard pick little boats of Cubans trying to make it to the United States. And for that, the United States convicted the head of the Air Force and the 2 pilots. And of course, the justice has not been done. Cuba also has helped North Korea by sending a ship that was detained at the Panama Canal with tons of ammunition, including MiG jets, including all types of ammunition hidden under sugar, and that violated the US-backed resolution at the Security Council of the United Nations, which forbade any country in the world giving assistance to that rogue regime of North Korea. And at the time that happened, Barack Obama did not open his mouth, did not criticize what was going on, and he was negotiating secretly with the Cuban regime to do what he did by recognizing Cuba diplomatically. We're very pleased that in the platform of the Republican Party in Cleveland, there's a whole section that deals with Cuba on page 50. And one of the sections that we support and we're delighted that is in this platform is that, I'm going to read exactly what it says. It's a very short paragraph. It says, the current administration's opening to Cuba was a shameful accommodation to the demand of its tyrants. It would only strengthen their military dictatorship. We call on the Congress to uphold current U.S. law, which sets the conditions for lifting sanctions in Cuba. And that law, of course, refers to the Helms-Burton Law, which is also called the Free Cuba Law. That law says that in order for the United States to lift the embargo or to recognize Cuba diplomatically, Cuba must legalize political parties and independent media, hold free and fair internationally supervised election, And we call for a dedicated platform for the transmission of radio and TV Marti and for the promotion of internet access and to circumvent the technology tools to strengthen Cuba's pro-democratic movement. One of the things that can be done is to help all the opposition in Cuba who are in every city of Cuba, there are demonstrations against the regime. We, in Miami, we work with the Brigade 2506, we work with the Cuban Patriotic Councils, and we're doing all that we can to strengthen the democratic forces in Cuba so they can get rid of this tyranny that has oppressed Cuba for 57 years. And during that time, that tyranny has shot on the wall 17,000 children, women, and men. It has incarcerated 300,000 people, and it's estimated that 100,000 Cubans have died at sea trying to reach the shores of the United States. This is a regime that is helping Venezuela to stay in power, and it has 40,000 Cuban soldiers led by the best Cuban generals in Venezuela to try to prop up that regime, who is a narco regime, who is helping the militia of Iran, Hezbollah in Lebanon. It's a terrorist nation, and Cuba is participating in terrorism. Barack Obama also lifted Cuba from the list of terrorist countries, even though Cuba has 70 U.S. fugitives that have assassinated police officers in different parts of the United States. Puerto Ricans, one of them, William Morales, that planted 140 bombs in the United States, killing 6 people. Terrorism that happened in the Virgin Islands, killing 7 tourists in the Virgin Islands by the Black Liberation Movement. All of these terrorists are living happily in Cuba, and that nation, that rogue regime of Cuba, has not returned one of these fugitives back for justice in the United States. Also, Barack Obama has taken Cuba from the list of human trafficking, and Cuba is the worst offender in the world because it takes doctors, medical doctors, nurses, musicians, all types of professionals in Cuba, and against their will, sent them throughout the world as if they were slaves. And that's another horrendous thing that Barack Obama has done. He has done a series of unilateral concessions to Cuba with nothing in return, no quid pro quo for the United States or even for the people of Cuba. There's more repression in Cuba today than it was before Cuba was recognized diplomatically. So we ask you to support the Helms-Burton Law. If you're elected president, we'd like you to break relations with Cuba until Cuba meets each of the rules set up by the Helms-Burton Law, which is very clear, and he has, of course, violated the Helms-Burton Law and practically destroyed the commercial embargo with all the unilateral executive orders that he has done. And what he's doing now is sending tourists to Cuba. All of the hotels are controlled by the government, they are owned by the government, and that will give oxygen to that horrendous regime who's been in power for 57 years, the worst tyranny in the history of the Western Hemisphere. That will give them power to continue in power oppressing the Cuban people. So we ask that you do all of this, and we thank everything you're doing for the American people, and yes, make America great again. Thank you.